What is fear? Why are we afraid? What makes someone too afraid to take the next step? And what keeps them from looking back? We always experience fear, and for many, it's even an intriguing emotion. But to be precise, where does fear come from, and what is it exactly? Hello, lovely listeners. Thank you for joining us at the Time Gate team. Today, we will explore fear together. As you step into the darkness, a part of each of us begins to tingle. Simultaneously, our eyes widen, our hearing sharpens beyond the ordinary, and somehow, we get the unsettling feeling that someone is lurking in the shadows, watching us. Fear originates from the subconscious, and when placed in specific situations, it awakens and creates a sense of unease, as if we are about to be attacked by something. This explains some fears such as fear of fire, fear of heights, fear of terrifying images, and fear of insects. Perhaps we're not actually afraid of heights but of falling, and not truly scared of fire but of getting burned. However, with creepy crawl eyes, it's not that we fear them. We fear the sensation that there might be some creature, unknown to us, living inside our bodies. All these fears revolve around a sense of unease, or in other words, we fear because we worry that we'll be affected, and that's the mechanism of fear. Fear is essentially a defense mechanism, similar to how other creatures instinctively flee when there's a loud noise. We also flinch when we hear thunder and lightning. The defense mechanism is a way for all creatures to survive in nature, helping them live longer and maintain their lineage. To some extent, it's ingrained in the instinct passed down from generation to generation. When confronted with a situation or a specific event, such as a scream in the middle of the night, our bodies take in that sound through our ears and begin processing this information through the sensory system, also known as the peripheral system. Here, the information will be analyzed by various parts of the brain to help us generate reflexes against threats once we've received the information, such as a scream. The peripheral system initiates two processing pathways as follows. The first processing pathway is the unconditional reflex for the body, with reactions like increased heart rate, dilated pupils, and tense muscles. This is a fight or flight reflex. The body needs this reflex to prepare for threats. If it's too strong, we have enough blood in our eye muscles to see clearly to run. If it's just right, we have enough blood in our muscles and eyes to see clearly to fight. The second processing pathway occurs in parallel with the first and is a conditioned reflex. The body will search the brain's memory for information similar to the recently received information in specific cases. With a scream, if this sound has occurred before and wasn't dangerous, the brain will consider whether it's something to be feared. This is what allows fear to develop and evolve over time, as the two processing pathways in the brain distinguish different types of fear and give the body signals about what it's facing. Fear, ingrained in our survival instinct, is a primal fear. It's rooted in factors that directly impact our survival, dating back to when humans were at the bottom of the food chain. Humans weren't fast, didn't have powerful muscles, had dull teeth, and lacked strong biting capabilities. Additionally, they lacked protective fur to cope with the elements. Essentially, early humans couldn't do much differently and could only eat what prey left behind. Consequently, from early human history, we developed basic reflexes for self-preservation against predators. Similar to other species, we are sensitive to loud sounds and fear things that emerge in the dark because that's when predators are active. We also fear heights because falling can lead to severe injuries. Importantly, we fear being left behind or getting lost because, in nature, separation often poses life-threatening risks. Primal fear evolved as a defense mechanism against the wild and untamed nature. However, even as humans moved away from the wilderness, these instincts remained with us. We still fear heights, fire, water, darkness, and especially being left behind, getting lost and feeling lonely when we hear loud noises. We still startle when others yell and feel discomfort. This primal fear has evolved and has, to some extent, influenced human behavior in the modern era. From primal fears, humans can develop or respond to conditions that create new fears. These new fears are formed through the mechanisms of the brain as we try to understand what that fear is. For example, if we hear a scream in the night, we can easily associate it with horrifying scenes we've seen in movies, scenes where characters are chased by something in the dark. From there, we suddenly feel afraid, even though we haven't seen or encountered any eerie presence. This mechanism is simple, but has a significant impact on modern society. In the process of social interaction, humans have the ability to convey events that have occurred and teach each other, helping future generations live better. However, this also inadvertently creates fears that did not exist in previous generations among the younger ones. If previous generations experienced food and clothing shortages, and succeeding generations had to labor to avoid hunger and cold, these experiences could lead to the development of fears related to hunger and cold. This pattern repeats whenever currency loses its value. Furthermore, the growth of mass media technology, especially the internet, exposes us to a multitude of multi-directional information daily. This exposure can lead to the development of various fears, often without our conscious awareness. Consequently, new fears become increasingly diverse and at times even seem irrational as they begin to form within each individual. With the unpredictable nature of modern development, some individuals may fear going outside, others may fear crowds, and many may fear encountering novel concepts. While these fears may appear illogical, they often have underlying causes. When humans formed societies, we needed systems of self-protection against potential dangers from within our own kind. This ensured the efficient functioning of societies. People needed the freedom to live and work without undue influence from malign forces.
Suffice it to say that a precious child is dead. This murder was heinous, atrocious, and cruel. For those acts, I sentence you to death.
To ensure security and social order, laws must be established. Laws set the rules for human activities, and the aim of legislation is to make people fear the consequences of their actions, so they do not want to face the dreaded penalties of the law. When people fear these consequences, they will strive to live more positively and contribute to society. It is through this that a society can develop. In addition to the fear of consequences, humans experience other fears arising from the developmental structure of their living environment. As the economy advances, the pressure regarding living conditions, basic needs, and finances increases. The next generation often has to face new challenges, things that the previous generation has never experienced. This creates confusion and uncertainty about what will happen when they have to adapt to both familiar concepts and new ones. For example, in a country like Vietnam, a developing nation in Southeast Asia, when facing the pressures of life, finances, and the influence of the post-subsidy era, Generation X often leans towards stable government jobs. Meanwhile, Generation Y, born and raised during the internet era, tends to be more open to online jobs. Generation X is afraid they can't keep up with Generation Y in this field, while Generation Y fears they can't match the economic development pace set by Generation X before them. The general psychology for those who came before is the fear of being surpassed by the younger generation, while the younger generation is gradually giving up the intention or dream of owning assets because their accumulation value is not enough to meet the grand values of the modern era. In Southeast Asia in general, and particularly in the country of Vietnam, there are articles discussing how young people are gradually foregoing early marriage or buying their own homes, opting instead to rent for the long term. This habit is becoming increasingly common and familiar. The previous generation often tries to push the younger generation to get married and have children at a certain age because they see it as necessary to avoid the consequences of old age. However, for the younger generation, the fear is not primarily loneliness in old age, but rather economic pressures and social status. These pressures accumulate over time, becoming the main concerns and frustrations of the younger generation. Fear seems to have no outlet, causing those who came before to fear that the younger generation may not be capable of facing these challenges and that they will be unable to meet the societal development, ultimately being left behind. Here, the new lifestyles of the younger generation have emerged. Many people have given up the race for fame, withdrawn into themselves, and live within the four walls. Some choose to live single lives, while many others hesitate and fear the new opportunities. They may lead passive or inactive lives. Because understanding that in today's world, there are too many temptations and dangers, parents often tend to protect their children and provide detailed guidance. However, this can make children hesitant and afraid to experiment with new things. Fearing an uncertain future, young people are gradually abandoning the concept of long-term work, as seen in Generation X, and focusing on finding the meaning of life. Instead of sticking to stable jobs, many keep changing to pursue their dream jobs. Some prioritize and are passionate about their work rather than just caring about their basic needs and money. Catchphrases like YOLO, you only live once, or life is short, clearly reflect the hurried and driven mentality among the youth. Meanwhile, the way young people primarily handle these issues relies on online interactions, keywords, and instructional videos on the internet, rather than seeking advice from parents or support from experts. These contemporary concerns make many parts of the younger generation hesitant about change, fearful of market fluctuations, and gradually lose their direction in decision-making. For example, when young people in Vietnam want to study abroad, keywords they search for, such as what to know before studying abroad or don't study abroad when, are always at the forefront of their minds. However, due to online research, these keywords generate thousands of different choices, leaving young people feeling confused. So why do we have to be so fearful? First and foremost, there is nothing wrong with fear. It is a self-defense mechanism that helps us survive and grow. So the idea that fear is a sign of weakness is not accurate. Instead, consider that fear is a motivation for us to stand up and do what is right, to courageously overcome challenges. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the ability to act despite it. However, it's essential to make a clear distinction between courage and recklessness. Returning to the example of studying abroad, stepping into a completely new world where no one speaks your native language, and where the economic, social, and cultural structures are entirely different, it's hard to argue that assimilating will be easy. Acknowledging that these are challenges we can face is an act of courage. However, buying a plane ticket and flying to a different country without a plan, without precautions, becomes reckless. In this case, fear can provide us with the most concrete form of preparation by creating specific plans, realistic hopes, and undertaking tangible actions to achieve those expectations more successfully. If we open pages 30 and 31 in Dr. Pham Duc Hung's book, Stepping into the World, a handbook for studying abroad and hunting for scholarships, we can immediately see the expectations and realities when it comes to studying abroad. Many students often think about going abroad, living in dormitories, and working part-time jobs, while also trying to study well to graduate. Furthermore, some people even have plans to work in that country and apply for citizenship if they have the capability. However, looking at the reality, each goal set forth will have its differences. If you want to pursue a career in technology and become an engineer, a suitable choice might be in the Silicon Valley of the United States, such as the University of San Francisco. Or if you want to immigrate to the host country, Sweden might be a more appropriate choice with a 4-year program leading to a PhD degree and permanent residency opportunities. Additionally, you also need to consider the timing of your study abroad, whether you will study abroad before or after completing your undergraduate degree. If you study at a foreign university, the advantage is that you have a higher chance of finding employment, especially with international qualifications and certifications you have obtained. In the case where you want to study abroad and need to secure a full scholarship, you need to plan your career trajectory very early, as you'll be leaving your family at a young age. On the contrary, if you decide to study abroad after completing your undergraduate degree, you will have more opportunities to receive full scholarships. You will have more time and experience, so your scholarship application will be more competitive. You will have experienced what you want and can make a better career choice. However, you will have to face a competitive job market and pressures from family, relationships, as well as financial aspects. Returning to the main content, it can be seen that if you don't translate those goals into reality and turn those ideas into plans, then what lies ahead will be an undefined fear. To turn big dreams into small steps, consider the following example. Instead of aiming to earn 12 million VND per month, you can set a goal to earn 3 million VND per week, and even just 420,000 VND per day. Fear is a part of the self-defense mechanism in all living creatures, designed to protect life and maintain survival. However, as we enter modern society, where primal threats are less common, new fears also emerge. It's important to note that these fears are not necessarily negative, as they serve to protect society and help us prepare for the future. Rather than letting fear dominate our lives, we can harness it to drive our aspirations and ideas forward. We can turn intentions into realities and break down big goals into smaller, achievable targets. Each individual has their own fears, and how they use them depends on the individual. We can choose to overcome them or let them control our lives, becoming courageous or not. This is the prerogative of each person. And that concludes the explanation about fear and how to overcome it. We hope this video has been helpful to you. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe to TimeGate Team, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future videos. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.